Upon the refurbishment of my dust collector system, something either got knocked loose or I don't know, I just blew a bearing, which would be weird. Wasn't happening before, but listen for the squeak. So I removed the plenum and went ahead and took this monster off the wall yet again, all the way down from 10 feet in the air. That is a solid steel plate connected to the 100-pound motor. The impeller is really wedged on there. I tried removing it and it just wouldn't come off, so I'm going to let the motor guys handle that safely and securely. This thing is intense, man. That is a 16-inch impeller. While the motor's getting worked on, I decided to take some extra tasks on, and we're getting our dust collection bins ready for installation, cutting the holes in the tops of these steel bins that I picked up used, but they're basically new, which is super nice. Came from a local restaurant, and all they had in them was juice. Pretty cool. On the bottom of all our hose flanges, that's going to just seat real nicely above the holes that we cut in our tops from these stainless steel drums, which are our dust collection bins. That siliconized weather stripping is a great thing to do as a temporary, and I am just kind of keeping this somewhat temporary right now and not doing actual silicone or PL 400 because frankly, I screwed up so badly by doing, well, a lot of things, but on this one, I PL 400 two pieces of 2x4 together, and it ended up being too deep for a 100-pound motor to be able to fit into its bracket system. I thought I was doing good. I wasn't. So I'm not going to do silicone or PL400 because taking that apart once it's dried is a nightmare. I don't want to permanently set anything at this point. I want to get everything roughly in. I haven't even put any foil tape around any of my HVAC connections. This is just a real get this cyclone in, see what's happening, and then go from there on the final modifications, dialing it out and setting it in stone, if you will. Let's get these attached. For now, like I said, temporary installation. I'm just using some sheet metal screws with a self tapper to get these flanges put down and on the lids. The weather stripping will hold it well enough for our initial testing. If everything dials out, then we'll come back and we may do hardcore siliconing to these. In the interim, though, honestly, this is going to work just fine. Keep it simple. It may even work long term. So don't kill yourself on your initial builds. I did end up needing a little extension for my actual flex hose to fit on regarding that smaller or that shallow coupling you've seen me working with. So this was my very lazy method of cutting a pre-crimped edge, 8-inch diameter. It was already ready to go and it fit in there perfectly. Not only did it fit in there perfectly, it fit on the inside of the coupling, which was beautiful because that means the airflow goes that way. As I'm sure you're all very aware, fitting hose onto hose ends or crimped edges of HVAC piping or PVC, whatever the hell it is, it's just such a pain in the ass. So this took a lot longer and I'm pretty used to it, but still nonetheless, fit this stuff in there finally. And once we got the hoses on, it was time to deal with our temporary stand and getting the Cyclone officially mounted to the wall. I still have yet to determine if the resonance and vibration from this system through the wall is going to become a bit of a nuisance or if it's actually going to be just an absolute bother. So that's yet to be seen. We may have to do some modifications later. But in the interim, what I'm doing is I'm, of course, finding all the studs in the wall, making sure I got a nice solid mounting. There's going to be these 2 wood brackets holding an extremely strong cast iron little kind of angle bracket again that I had floating around. And I've also got these leftover arms from a previous project that had carpet wrapped around them. So I'm going to go ahead and use those on top of that bracket between the actual plate on the Cyclone filter and the bracket itself to create a little bit of, again, hopeful resonance reduction. That's definitely a big part of this system being a 5 horsepower. Resonance reduction and vibration reduction are kind of key components. There may be changes coming later. And I'm going to go to the other side of the machine and do the same damn thing. This was a pain. There was probably about 14 inches of space at most to work with. Trying to get my big old ass in there and drills and tools and everything to make sure I'm securely mounted to the wall, and to make sure that I've got all the proper dimensions measured. Of course, even the filter itself was in the way of the arm itself. So if I had to put the arm of the bracket on, I ended up having to cut it short because of the filter location. This was just a really, really tricky spot to get into. But we managed, and we got everything secured. The cyclone got attached, and the filter stayed in its singular position that it's in. It didn't get bumped around too much. So bye-bye temporary stand. Cyclone is hung. That's pretty cool, man. That feels really good. We're putting on our little collection bins, and we're finally ready to test. Okay, here we go. Initial test. Honestly, I feel like I'm going to piss my pants a little bit. Camera shaking a little. Well, let's turn it on, see what it does. Oh, God. Well, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Here we're going to install a floor sweep into the system. It did turn out extremely powerful. Stoked with how the revamp happened. The results have been staggering, frankly. Shocked myself a little bit. But I'm going to install this floor sweep for a multitude of reasons. But in the immediate juncture and discussion, it's for airflow relief, just to take a little tension off the lines if I need to. This sweep is at the very end of our ducting system and run. So that's going to allow us to give a little bit of pressure relief if we need to at any point, if one machine is just too powerful or the system's overloaded. Okay, like that. That's just going to screw in, and we're going to tap that. Wow. Me likey. So the way these clamps work, there's just a foam seal inside. You've seen me do my little comparison. This is one of the US duct ones. Fit them above the first ring. Make sure that you don't tear up all that weather stripping on your first round. And then we get our other piece on there. You make sure the clamp is around both of the quick fit rims of the piping. And that's the sound you want. That's a good connection there. All right. And then she's good there. That's nice and solid. We'll probably just put a couple tap screws down into the concrete here just for holding. Anytime I put screws into concrete, I like to use anchors. So I'm just going to pre-drill our locations. And that's just to get not only a mark of where we're going, but we're also getting a little kind of center punch hole in the concrete for that rotary hammer drill. Gives a nice clean entrance point without the hammer drill bit spinning off. And I'm just using a regular old beat up wood bit for those pilot holes. We put some anchors in and we were good to go. This is the installation, and you've probably seen this video, but this is the installation of our micro dust collection from the filter. And again, we do use a nice pan head screw there so we don't crack the lid. These are the Gamma lids. They're airtight, watertight. Not that water is an issue in the system, of course. Be careful not to cross thread. I accidentally cross threaded at the beginning, and it was a pain in the butt to get back off and then to actually rethread properly. That is probably one of the biggest issues of this current format and setup, and the way these buckets kind of spin on and off, is the potential for cross thread. Why in the hell do you have a filter taped to your fucking door, man? That makes no sense. Well, the tape is temporary. I'm going to build a little wood sleeve to put the filters in and out of. Baffle box on the back of the door. Air 24 by 24 section. So in theory, my air is escaping all the way to there roughly through that entire 24-inch width of the box. Right, so now you can see the filter and the air. And then I'll pull this back so you can kind of see the cavity. What I also did is I also put foam inside as well to help with the sound a little bit. This tape's really doing a good job. I know I said I'm going to build a frame, but geez, man, keep it simple, stupid. So that's the hole cut in the door. So this matting or this rubber foam I put in there is just a whole kind of, what do they call that? Comfort foam for your feet at your workstations. But up there you can see the baffles and how it kind of all works. And that's going to run a 180 all the way back and over. So that's just a 90 degree on this side. That 90 degree is this guy right here. So it's just a kind of a quick idea of how baffles work. You know, air goes in, has to snake and bend, and as it does, the sound gets deadened. And as the deadening of the sound occurs, it just allows the air to flow nice and smoothly out our filter.